In Revenge of the Sith, the greatest Jedi combative mind came against the most powerful Sith Lord in galactic history, as Mace Windu faced off against Emperor Palpatine Darth Sidious finally. The ultimate goal of each individual engaged in the duel, to fight and ultimately conquer the individual that was the most powerful from the other faction, a pure Jedi versus a pure Sith. In the end though, the outcome of the duel was inconclusive, but we do have a video planned for later on exactly what the creator believes happened at the end. However, today we must talk about the outcome of the duel, and the fact that once Mace Windu seemingly defeated Palpatine, Anakin Skywalker intervened, chopping off his hand with his own lightsaber, as Mace Windu was then hit with the full hatred of Darth Sidious's Force Lightning, and he fell to his apparent death. After Disney's acquisition of Star Wars though, however, Mace Windu actor Samuel L. Jackson has petitioned that Mace Windu actually did survive, and has petitioned quite seriously and not apparently as a joke at all, as the actor has expressed interest several times in returning to the role of Mace Windu, believing that he did in fact survive his encounter with Sidious in Revenge of the Sith, and wanting to return as Mace Windu later down the line and explore a story told in that universe. According to all of Star Wars canon currently though, there is no indication that Mace Windu actually survived his fall, not a single hint. And according to various comments made over at Disney, it is apparent that in their minds Mace Windu did meet his final fate in Revenge of the Sith at the hands of Sidious, and did in fact die in Revenge of the Sith. However, there was a pretty interesting development concerning Mace Windu's survival post Episode 3, involving the creator of Star Wars himself, George Lucas. Apparently, George Lucas and Sam Jackson had a meeting to discuss what would happen if Mace Windu actually survived, and what story would happen, and ultimately in the end, why George Lucas did not pursue a story with Mace Windu, proving again that Sam Jackson does take the survival of Mace Windu very seriously, and has petitioned for it several times. Apparently during the meeting, both Sam Jackson and George Lucas came to the conclusion that Mace Windu did actually survive these events in Revenge of the Sith. George Lucas admits that he does not know what happened to Mace Windu following this, but he agrees with Sam Jackson that he did actually survive, and would have survived this encounter, although his story was not told post in Legends continuity or in canon continuity. George Lucas did again ultimately agree that Mace Windu did at least survive the fall. Whether or not he was hunted down by the Imperials afterwards or he died from his injuries is unknown. However, this is not all the creator left Sam Jackson and us fans with. As he explained, even though Mace Windu did survive, he would not have turned up even if George Lucas had been in charge of Star Wars and not sold it to Disney, explaining that Mace Windu never really had a spot in the story of the Skywalkers post his encounter with Darth Sidious in Revenge of the Sith. And George Lucas indicated that if Mace Windu did have a story post Revenge of the Sith, it would not have had to do with the Skywalkers at all, but perhaps an inner battle of Mace Windu of whether or not he could be a Jedi after the events of Order 66, and a battle within himself of the light and the dark side of the Force. Sam Jackson famously said about Mace Windu, "Jedi can fall from amazing distances, and there's a long history of one-handed Jedi, so why couldn't Mace Windu have survived this encounter?" Anyway though, my friends, what are your thoughts on this? I know this doesn't affect the current Star Wars universe, but I do think that the mindset is really interesting, and how Sam Jackson actually convinced George Lucas that Mace Windu was actually alive post Revenge of the Sith. It is interesting though George Lucas's comments that he never even really thought about this, and was never conclusive in his mind whether or not Mace Windu survived or died at the hands of Sidious, as in his mind Mace Windu had already played the role in the story in the Skywalker saga, and he was sort of pushed to the back burner as a result. But again, even George Lucas says that Mace Windu did survive his fall. But again, since Disney took over post George Lucas, we'll likely never get a story about Mace Windu's survival, but you never know. And again, I want to make it absolutely clear that in Star Wars canon, to our current knowledge, Mace Windu is still unfortunately dead. However, I do think it would be an awesome story if we learned that he survived and his aspects and views on the Force changed a bit. Anyway guys, what are your thoughts on Sam Jackson and George Lucas now petitioning for Mace Windu to be alive? And what do you think? Is Mace Windu alive or is he dead in your mind? As always, my friends, thank you so much for the support on the channel. It means the world to me. May the Force be with you and have a great day.